And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place for a time, times and a half a time. So what is this great eagle? What is this event of the 2 wings of the great eagle being granted to the woman to fly into the wilderness? So we're going to look at as it relates to the trumpet of the eagle. We're going to look at that in this message. We've been on a series of the 1,335 days, and the sign of the lion with his 2 eagles' wings plucked. So when Donald Trump was removed, he thought he won the election, but he was removed. His power was stripped. It was a sign of the little horn. Take away his dominion and consume it unto an end. It is the sign when his eagle's wings are plucked, they are granted to the woman. So he cried, I won. Fraud. It was stolen. But that was his dominion being stripped, as we'll look at. We looked at this as a potential prophecy being fulfilled many years ago. We'll share with you that clip, But it's a sign to us when the eagle's wings are plucked from the Antichrist that the wings are granted to the woman. So as citizens of heaven, we assemble around the throne in an order of 12. Lion, ox, man, eagle, east, west, south, north. And this is how the children of Israel assemble around the throne. And this is how the 12 gates of New Jerusalem. It's the same order. Lion, ox, man, eagle, east, west, south, north, 12 tribes. So the 12 tribes assemble. One of the tribes and one of the camps is the sign of the eagle. They're assigned with trumpets to assemble. So we've looked at the angel of the covenant and the role of the angel of the covenant in explaining the 1,335 days. He has the sickle. He is the purifier. He has the prophecy of the 1,335 days in Daniel's timeline, Daniel chapter 12. We looked at the 2 anointed ones, the 2 witnesses, 1,260 days. This is leading to, the resurrection. So first fruits, you count 7 weeks from first fruits, till you come to Pentecost. So the woman is given 2 wings of an eagle, and she's granted those wings after the prophecy of the Antichrist. His wings are plucked. Now, the first was like a lion. It had eagle's wings, and I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand on his feet. Now, we can see later on that verse 17, these great beasts which are 4 kings, which shall rise out of the earth. That's the interpretation of these 4. So these would be beasts. And these beasts would be actual kings. They would be actual people. So the first one is a lion. And I want you to notice here, it says, a lion shall eat straw like an ox. Now this parable in Isaiah 11 has to do with these beasts. Now this one is telling us about Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was made to eat straw like an ox. So when it says the lion shall eat straw like an ox, that's telling us about Nebuchadnezzar. And then we see here the Nebuchadnezzar was on 4 legs eating grass like an ox. But here you can see the lion is made to stand upon his feet like a man. That means he also was on 4 legs, and a man's heart was given to it. And again, Nebuchadnezzar, he was given the heart of an ox, and for 7 years. So the person that is this king, which is Donald Trump, he's going to have his wings plucked. In Revelation, it says he's going to continue for a short space, and a man's heart was given unto him. So he's going to have a humbling experience like Nebuchadnezzar. Donald Trump would have a humbling experience like Nebuchadnezzar. He was the lion with 2 wings of an eagle, and the wings of an eagle were plucked. We could see that in Daniel chapter 7, verse 26, when it's talking about the little horn, his dominion will be taken. They shall take away his dominion, and this is what's happening in the prophecy. Whether you like it or not, the prophecies are being fulfilled, And there are signs and indications for us of when significant things happen as a sign, as an indicator. So that was a sign, that was an indicator. He believed there was fraud. He believed that he won by a landslide. Okay, it doesn't matter politically what you think. It's prophecy that's happening. All right, now when he did, okay, maybe they even told him that he would win. Who knows, all right? But when his wings were plucked, his dominion was taken. Okay, we showed you the wings. The eagle's wings are the seal of the United States, the eagle's wings. Okay, the seal of the United States. This goes back to Rome. Hopefully you watch the other videos on that. But when those eagle's wings are plucked, okay, when they're taken and you have those two wings, what that means is that in the future prophecy, the next thing is there's another great eagle, and that great eagle gives the two wings to the woman. Okay? Can you see how exciting this is? Can you see how amazing this is? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the prophecies of both, okay, what the Antichrist does, okay? He's given a prophecy of the eagle's wings, you could see, all right? He's given a prophecy of the covenant, all right? So there's certain things that he's given the prophecy of the covenant. Okay, he must do the covenant. He did the covenant, all right? And he must have his dominion taken, okay? But there's another great eagle, there's another great two wings, all right? So let's first look at our core. It's not our core verses in Revelation 12, but let's go and look at our eagles right here in Ezekiel 17. So in Ezekiel 17 it says, "Thus says Lord God, a great eagle with great wings, long feathered, full of feathers, which had diverse colors, came unto Lebanon and took the highest branch of the cedar." Okay, so as we were explaining there, we were talking about Nebuchadnezzar. When they were talking about Nebuchadnezzar there, they were describing Nebuchadnezzar as a tree. All right, and that great tree was cut. Okay, so the tree was cut. It was cut down. All right, and a stump of that tree was left. All right, and then it said, "It will be a sign to you, Nebuchadnezzar, that you will eat grass like an ox." All right, so he had this humbling experience. He said, "Isn't this my great kingdom?" and all these things. And this is what the Antichrist too. He's going to make everything is great, great, great. Okay. My great kingdom, what we've done, blah, blah, blah. So his dominion is stripped, all right? And that's what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. And then he ate grass like an ox, okay? So we were going through the prophecy there to explain that significance, because this is what it says here. And it also says that this is clearly Nebuchadnezzar. Not only that, it clearly says there's a covenant, okay? And let's go to verse 12. "You rebellious house, don't you know what these things mean? Behold, the king of Babylon has come to Jerusalem and has taken the king thereof and the princes and led them into Babylonia, the king's seed, and made a covenant with them." Okay, so this is, of course, what the Antichrist did. The Antichrist did this. The king of Babylon made the covenant. Okay, covenant's very significant. You could see that's the eagle. You can see the great eagle there with the feathers and the wings. All right, then we know the eagle's wings are plucked. All right, so that's clearly what it's talking about. But we have another eagle here. And within this prophecy, okay, it's the core of the prophecy is just that. It's Nebuchadnezzar coming in, making a covenant. He breaks the covenant. But then in verse 7, "And there was another great eagle with great wings and many feathers." Okay, who is this? Obviously, what the verse here in Ezekiel, and we do have an Ezekiel playlist, guys. This video will be part of the Ezekiel playlist, because the whole book of Ezekiel does correspond to the book of Revelation, as well as does Daniel. So this eagle, now the Most High says himself who the first eagle was, okay? But then we just mysteriously have this other eagle here without an explanation. So what we conclude is that at the time that this great eagle, this Nebuchadnezzar figure, the king of Babylon, at the time he makes the covenant and all these prophecies are happening, there's another great eagle here, okay? And this is a literal eagle, okay? So, some of the things that are in prophecies are symbolic in nature, okay? So you might look at this as symbolic, and it is, yes, okay? So there's a symbolic nature, okay, of both the eagles here that you can see, okay? What we're getting at is there actually is an eagle, a literal eagle that exists. That's one of the living creatures. So now we look at the prophecy. We can see the great eagle, okay? We can see the Antichrist. We can see his wings plucked. We can see all those prophecies clearly identify with the covenant, all right? Then, well, who is this other eagle? Well, we find it as we go through the book of Revelation. There are 4 living creatures around the throne, okay, in their position around the throne in the cardinal points, east, west, south, north. And as we were showing you before, so the camp of the children of Israel follows the pattern of the living creatures. So just like you had the tabernacle and the children of Israel were around the Ark of the Covenant in the cardinal points, okay, that's the same order and pattern around the throne. There are 4 living creatures, and the 4th living creature is like a flying eagle, okay? You see that in Revelation chapter 4, verse 7. The 4th living creature was like a flying eagle. Now, each of those living creatures have roles and specific things they do throughout the book of Revelation, all right? So, for example, you can see the lion, all right? You see the living creature like a lion. All right, well, you get the angel of the covenant, and his voice was like a roaring lion. Okay, so there you can see like the roaring lion. They also grant the bowls to the 7 angels, okay? They also have a voice that comes from the 4 living creatures to say the amount of the wheat, okay? So you have the angel is holding the scales in his hand, and they say the price, okay, for the barley, for the wheat, okay? So there's a voice from the living creatures that describes that, all right? Now what we want to do is we want to look at who the eagle is, okay? Because then the eagle has roles, he has things he does too throughout the book of Revelation. So these are deep mysteries, guys. I venture to say you won't hear a lot of teaching on this, but we could see one of the living creatures there. He was a flying eagle. Now in Revelation chapter 7, an angel comes from the east, sun, having the seal of the God, okay, seal of the living God. And when he does, they're cried. Now, cried here in Greek is ekraxe. Ekraxe is like a caw, like a bird cry, okay? That's what it is. That's a unique word for cry. And it's ekraxe, so it's a sound of an animal, specifically a bird, okay? So we conclude that this caw is the eagle, because he says, with a loud voice, it comes as a loud cry, a loud voice of an eagle from the 4 angels. And so the order of the angels there, again, is the 4 order of the angels, lion, ox, man, eagle, and you have this ekraxe, this sound of an eagle, okay? So we see him there. Then we see him in Revelation 8:13. Revelation 8:13, guys, the interlinear version of Revelation says, I beheld and came one flying eagle, or eagle flying, okay? The King James Version says an angel, okay? But the interlinear says eagle. So we conclude that the interlinear is right, because what we can see in this prophecy is we have the voice of an eagle once again. I've had one eagle flying through mid-heaven saying, woe, 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 to those inhabitants of the earth, because of the voice of the trumpet of the 3 angels being about to sound. Now, what's happening here is a mystery, because there's 2 trumpets, 2 orders of trumpets taking place. There's a voice of a trumpet, a phony, okay, in the Greek. All right, so there's one trumpet, and then there's another trumpet, which are the 7 trumpets, okay? The other angels yet about to sound. So when it says 3 angels, there's 2 things going on. So there's trumpets of lion, ox, man, eagle to assemble the camps, okay? You can see that in Numbers chapter 10. When they assembled by tribes. There's a main tribe for each position. Okay, so in east was Judah. Is Judah, and then it was Ephraim was west, Reuben was south, and Dan was north. Okay, so within those, okay, they also had banners and they had signs. Okay, so they would encamp. They would have a trumpet to indicate their position. They would have a banner and they would have a sign of the insignia of that main camp. Okay, so once we go to the eagle, okay, that's the living creature. All right, and there would be a trumpet sound for them to assemble, for them to move. Okay, so that's one of the trumpets. Okay, so there are different trumpets that are doing this assembly over and over. All right. So hopefully you're hearing the sound of the trumpet and you're getting in your camp and you're getting in order, all right? And then there's also another trumpet, which is the 7 trumpets, each of the 7 trumpets. So he's saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so that's trumpet 5, 6, and 7. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, there's 3 of those trumpets, all right, coming. So he is saying this, whoa, 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 at the time of the 4th trumpet, all right? And then there are 3 more coming, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so there is also 5, 6, and 7, and it's a flying eagle, which is giving us this directive, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. I have lots of other videos of teaching on the banners and the trumpets and everything else. If you're not familiar with that, we'll have links in the description field. So in this trumpet, this eagle trumpet, we see this in Hosea chapter 8, verse 1. Amazing. Set the trumpet to your mouth. Okay, set the trumpet to your mouth. And then it says, an eagle against the house of Israel because they have transgressed my covenant. Okay, what do we have? We have a trumpet. We have the eagle, and we have the covenant, just like we saw in Ezekiel chapter 17, as we will keep going, okay? But what is the trumpet? The trumpet is also eagle. Set a trumpet to your mouth to assemble the camps. Now, we get our core verse, Ezekiel 17, verse 7, and there was one great eagle with great wings and many feathers, okay? Then verse 3, a great eagle with great wings, long feather, full of feathers, different colors, came from Lebanon and took the highest branch of the cedar. This great eagle with wings is the first beast of Daniel 7, verse 4, of the lion with eagle's wings, and the wings were plucked. And the great tree is the parable of Nebuchadnezzar losing his power. Ezekiel 17, 12, the king of Babylon has come to Jerusalem and has made a covenant with them. Okay, and they shall take away his dominion and consume and destroy it unto the end. Okay, so that was the sign of the eagle's wings being plucked. Therefore, when you see the lion eat straw like an ox, that's Isaiah 11, verse 7, and his wings are plucked, it's a sign that soon the eagle's wings are given to the woman in Revelation. Okay, so I'm going off the notes here. Let's take a look at our notes, and let's go over in the prophecy of Revelation 12, the timeline and the prophecies of the feast. Now, these are our notes on a previous message. Rapture Eagle gathers the elect. Hopefully you watched this, okay? But I just want to emphasize once again, then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. That's in Matthew 24:30. In verse 40, it says, 2 are one field, one is taken, the other left. 2 are grinding in mill, one is taken, one is left. And then in Luke, it says, 2 upon a bed, one is taken, the other left. Where, Lord? He said, where the body is, there the eagles will be gathered. Okay, so what the body is this is talking about the resurrection. Okay, and the resurrection, it is the dead bodies that will rise. Okay, so wherever the dead body is, that's where the eagles will be gathered. Okay, so this is the resurrection. Most people call this the rapture. So that's why we use that word here. But really, it's the resurrection. So in the resurrection, it's the resurrection of the dead. Okay? So it says, wheresoever, you can see here, Matthew 24, verse 28, wheresoever the dead body is, there the eagles are gathered. Okay? So hopefully that's clear that the eagle is the sign of the gathering. The living creatures, lion, ox, man, eagle, ekkraxe. okay? The loud voice and the trumpet, okay? So it's also, as we mentioned before, the two witnesses, they finished their testimony, 1,260 days. Their dead bodies are in the street. And there's a great voice that says, come up here. So again, that's the same word as dead body, where the eagles are gathered. Okay? And so there we can see, watch that other video. I'll have links in the description field for it. But we do have a literal great eagle. Okay? The great eagle is one of the living creatures. Flying eagle, ekrexe. I beheld to the flying eagle. All right? And he's talking about the trumpets. And we can see there's an eagle trumpet in Hosea chapter 8. Okay? So there is one great eagle with great wings. All right? So the woman gets the wings from this great eagle. And the sign for us is the other great eagle, the Antichrist, in Ezekiel 17:3. The great eagle, great wings, long feather, full of feathers, different colors, came from Lebanon. Okay? The highest branch of the cedar. This great eagle with wings is the first beast of Daniel 7:11. And with eagle's wings, which were plucked. And the great tree in the parable of Nebuchadnezzar, when he loses his power. So it says the lion will eat straw like an ox. And Ezekiel 17:12, the king of Babylon has come to Jerusalem and has made a covenant. Okay, so we saw the covenant and its significance there. And Hosea 8:1, set the trumpet in your mouth, the eagle, the house of the Lord, because they have transgressed my covenant. Okay? So it's the Antichrist, of course, that does the covenant. And when he does, afterwards, his dominion is taken away. And that's what it's talking about. And it is the covenant, guys. Daniel 9:27-11. Most of you know this, but if anyone doesn't, we have links in the description field on the peace deal. It is the prophesied peace deal. And they shall take away his dominion, his wings, to consume and destroy to the end. Therefore, when we see the lion eat straw like an ox, Isaiah 11:7, and his wings are plucked, it is a sign that the eagle's wings are given to the woman. We're repeating this, guys, because these are concepts that you may not be familiar with, and they may be hard to understand, so we're going over it and repeating over and over. Now, you can see that we're also talking about the 1,335 days. So, Revelation 12 is a full timeline of 7 years. It starts with the woman clothed with the sun, and it ends with Armageddon. The dragon went to make war with the others of her seed. That's Armageddon. Now, when we go through that timeline, of course, we have 3.5 years in the midpoint, okay? So we had a great sign, a woman clothed with the sun. That we know when that was, September 22nd, 2017. She fled into her place where she had prepared 1,260 days. That leads to March 17th, 2021, okay? Then this is all of Revelation 12, okay? Revelation 12, verse 10. Now comes salvation, strength in the kingdom of our God and power of his Christ. All right, so the word salvation, strength, power is the Song of Moses. You can see that in Exodus 15:2. Then verse 11, the blood of the Lamb. This is Passover. So Passover comes in March 30th, 2021. So we have a total calendar taking place here, okay, perfectly. And they love not their lives unto death. This is the resurrection. So that's the Feast of Firstfruits. On the Feast of Firstfruits, it's a type of loving not your lives unto death, giving your life for your faith, and faith in the resurrection, that you participate in the resurrection. So that happens after Passover. So that's April 4th, 2021 is Firstfruits, or Resurrection Sunday. Not Resurrection. Yeah, Resurrection Sunday. It's the first day of the week. So, Revelation 12:12, rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. Okay, woe to the inhabitants of the earth. So remember, we saw the woes before of the eagle. So this is the third woe. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth. So what happens is after resurrection, you count 7 weeks to Pentecost. When you count the 7 weeks to Pentecost, you get to Pentecost, which is May 23rd, 2021. Okay, so rejoice in you heavens. Rejoice there is the commandment for the Feast of Weeks, also called Pentecost. So this is the Feast of Pentecost, perfectly. Then in verse 14, and to the woman were given 2 wings of an eagle, that she would fly into a wilderness and into her place a times and a half. So you can see all of this happens in the first month and third month, okay, after 3.5 years, okay? So you have after that 3.5 years, and then the woman is given 2 wings of an eagle. She'll fly into her place another 3.5 years. Then verse 17, the dragon went to make war with her seed, and that is Armageddon. All right, now let's take a look at the feast and look at the calendar, okay, of when these things will be. Okay, so we mentioned to you she goes into her place and she had a place prepared. That is the first day of the first month. That's March 17th, 2021. So that first day of the first month is when the tabernacle was set. Okay, so that is our 1,260 days. Then we had Passover. Okay, Passover is here. It's 2 weeks later. That's March 30th. Then you have the Feast of Unleavened Bread that lasts 7 days. And after, the day after the Sabbath, you have the Sabbath was a Saturday, April 3rd. The next day is called Firstfruits or Resurrection Sunday. That's April 4th. Okay? They love not their lives unto death. That's Firstfruits. Then you count 7 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you come to Pentecost or the Feast of Weeks. Okay? That's May 23rd, and the next day is 1,335 days. And next to that is a full blood moon, major sign of the marking of the time. Okay, so what we just saw in Revelation 12 is a full timeline. Let's take a look at it. Starts off right here in Revelation 12. This is the beginning of the 7 years, and it concludes here, 7 years. So it starts here, and the halfway point is here. So you have 1, 2, 3.5 years from the beginning. So we saw Revelation 12:1. Then we come to 2021, and we come to the springtime feasts. Okay, the springtime feasts, and those go up until the third month. Okay, so we're talking about a few verses there in Revelation 12, which is covering 3 months, leading to the 1,335 days here. See that blood moon right there? That red dot? That's the blood moon that we were talking about. That was on May. Well, it's going to be May 26th, but on the Enoch calendar, we have it on the 10th day of the third month because the day starts at sundown. All right, so we have 1,335 days after the woman clothed with the sun sign. All right. Then what happens is you have the bulls, and at the 6th bull, okay, it says it is done, but it is in the 6th bull that you have Armageddon. Okay, so we saw Armageddon in verse 17 of Revelation 12. So Revelation 12 gives us all this information. You have 1,260 days, okay? You have 1,335 here, okay? And then you have another time, okay? That's a year, a time, a times 2.5, okay? So that's another 3.5 years from that time period. Now, with that timetable, one of the things that the people have as a stumbling block is, well, I didn't see this happen. Well, everything has happened with the exception of a couple prophecies. Now, those are as a result of the eagle. The eagle says, don't let the trumpets blow or don't let the winds blow until we have sealed the servants of God on their forehead. Now, when he's saying that, don't let the winds blow, those winds relate to the first 4 trumpets, okay? Now, they've been held back, but yet we can see signs and manifestations of trumpet 1 and 4. However, we see trumpets 2 and 3 being held back. If we look at trumpet number 3, actually, it could be trumpet 2 or 3. We're just going to read these. The second angel sounded, and there was a great mountain filled with fire cast into the sea. And the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures were in it became blood and died, and part of the ships were destroyed. So something's coming into the sea. All right. And then the third angel sounded, there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell into the third part of the rivers. Okay. So you got the sea, you got the rivers, and the name of the star was called wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many of the people died of the waters, and they became bitter. Okay. So that's trumpet 2 and 3. Now, those are held back, and we can understand how those are held back by the eagle. Okay. By the eagle. And we can understand this, that the person, the star there that cast the stone into the sea. Let's look at it real quick. Let's go to Revelation. He's over there in Revelation 18. It's the angel of the covenant, the mighty angel. He has the stone, and he casts it into the sea. Mighty angel took up a stone like a millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, "Thus with violence the great city Babylon is thrown down, shall be no more." Revelation 18:21. Now, we go to Isaiah. We see the mighty angel once again in Isaiah 28, verse 2. "Behold, the Lord has a mighty and strong one, the angel of the covenant, which as a tempest of hail and a destroying storm, as a flood of mighty waters overflowing, he shall cast down to the earth with the hand." Okay, he'll cast down the earth with the hand. So we saw him there. He had the stone, and he cast it down. Babylon is fallen. "And behold, the Lord is a mighty strong one, which has a tempest of hail." Okay, you can see hail in the first trumpet and destroying storm, and he casts it to the earth. So that is some of what we're watching for, because the seventh angel said, "It is finished." One way of looking at it is saying the prophecies leading up to that point, or that have been held back, will be released. Now let's look at the context of where we are in Isaiah 28 real quick. Real quick, we want to show you that all the things we're talking about are right in here, okay? So Isaiah 26 and verse 19, "The dead shall live, and together with my dead body shall rise. Awake and sing, O you that dwell in the dust." Okay, so this is the resurrection. So in the resurrection, you can clearly see awake from the dust. Verse 20, "Come, my people, enter into your chamber, shut your doors around you, hide yourself for a little moment until the indignation pass over." This is the shutdown, okay? The Most High is using these things to shut the people in their chambers, to shut until the indignation passes. Then we get to Isaiah 27:1. "And the Lord has a sore and great sword, and he shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent." This is Michael, and his angels fought against the dragon, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Okay? So there we see Revelation 12. Okay? And then Isaiah 27 in verse 9. "When he makes the stones of an altar like chalk stones." Okay, so there would have to be an altar dedication. And we saw the Jews do that with the altar dedication in December 2018. "And it shall come to pass," verse 12, "in that day that the Lord shall beat off the channel of the river." This is the Euphrates. Okay? This is a sign of the Euphrates, from the Euphrates to the Egyptian boundary, unto the stream of Egypt. You shall be gathered one by one, O you children of Israel. So how are the children of Israel gathered one by one? Lion, ox, man, eagle. Verse 13, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown, and they shall come which were to perish in the land of Assyria, in the outcasts of Egypt." So again, the boundaries, Euphrates, Egypt, the promise to Abraham, okay, from the river Euphrates to the river of Egypt. "And they shall worship the Lord in the holy mount in Jerusalem." Okay, that was all Isaiah 11. Isaiah 27. Then we get to Isaiah 28. Okay, and we see this mighty and strong one. All right. And then we have the verse we quote on the channel all the time, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, okay? That's how you interpret the scriptures. Then verse 15, "You have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell we are agreement." So it is at the time Antichrist does the covenant, okay, you get the plague, all right? And then once you get the plague, you get the mark of the beast. All of these are prophecies that work in perfect, succinct order. All right. And again, it is Christ. It's his coming. "Therefore, says the Lord God, behold, I lay in Zion a foundation stone, tried stone, a precious corner that in a sure foundation." All right. So there we see the judgment will I lay the line, in judgment the plummet, and hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and water shall overflow the hiding place. So again, we go back to those trumpets of the first trumpet being the hail and the fire coming from heaven, and then the other 2 and 3 relating to stars falling from heaven into the rivers and into the sea, which the angel of the covenant does. Okay, so we work on this channel on the process of if then. Okay, if certain things happen, all right, in the kind of construct that we would anticipate. Okay, that's all this is. We're not saying some of those trumpets are held back, but there's a construct, there's an order to things. This is like like foundation. Okay, and then you watch. You'll see. Okay, we'll watch. We'll see what happens, because all the words of the prophecy must be fulfilled. Okay, all the things must happen perfectly. All right, so you can see there in Isaiah many of the things that we're talking about. The great trumpet. All right, the boundaries, the Euphrates. Okay, if you've been following along, a lot of this stuff will make sense. If you don't know these concepts, guys, I'll have links to all these messages. Okay, but we'll have notes to this. This is a series we've been on just explaining the 1,335 days. You have to go through all of this. You have to look at all of this context. Okay, all of this prophecy, all of the things like significant signs of the eagle's wings from the Antichrist being plucked, and they would be granted to the woman. So thanks for watching. I'll have the notes in the description field. And as we say, fear God, give glory to him. For the hour of his judgment is come, worship him, that made the heavens, the earth, the seas, and the fountains of waters. Amen.